What's up, everybody? The Metal Gladiator here, and today I'm joined by my brother here, Conor or Condorf. He has a bunch of nicknames. And he's just gonna stare into the camera. Okay, that's a great start. So, I said in the last video we're doing a tier list of Demon Hunter. Now, I had to make this tier list because there wasn't one, so the tier list will be in the description. The link to the tier list will be in the description of the video. So check it out. Set up your own, and in the comments too, because that's always fun. I like these. I feel like they're easier than like top 10 lists and stuff. And this is basically going to be the replacement for my podcast there, because I don't know. I'm not much of a podcast dude. I don't know. I'm fine with being in podcasts. I like the concept and everything, but just making my own, just, I don't know. Didn't really work. But, speaking of podcasts, Conor was actually in that a while ago episode when we were discussing War and Peace back when it first came out. So, before we actually get into it, I just want to kind of explain how we're doing it. We have tiers S, A, B, C, and D. We do not have at tier F because Demon Hunter has not released anything bad. That's a fact. So, that's not opinionated, that's a fact. They've not released any bad albums. So, as an example, we're going to put some of these albums here. Well, no, I meant to put all those in the same tier. Okay, so, as an example here, you got 3 albums in this tier, tier B. This is just an example. I don't think these albums are in this tier or whatever, The one that is farthest, I actually have my mouse. I need to stop. I was pointing at the screen. Like, they can see me pointing at the screen. I was like, I should use my mouse. The one at the farthest left is the one we like most from this tier. And the one at the back end is the one we like the least from the tier. I have 2 tabs opened here to make it easier on us. Conor, he's got it like up on his phone and stuff, but I'm going to be, for the sake of the video, I'm going to be controlling where his placements are. Not fully, he's going to tell me first, obviously. And another disclaimer is we don't know each other's tier list. We're going to be going through their studio albums, start to finish, and we don't know which ones. Well, Conor does know one of my placements because I always say it's my favorite. People who know me will know what is going in S tier, most likely. First tab is my tier list, and then the second tab is Conor's. Okay, so I keep wanting to say that I keep wanting to call this album Screams of the Undead, but that's actually the first song. This is a self-titled debut, and
yes,
I am going to place this album in the C tier. C tier. Not the lowest. I do like this album. It is Demon Hunter's first album, so of course it's not going to be the greatest. They're still growing, obviously. That's how bands should be. They always get better over time and everything. If bands don't do that, then they probably suck to begin with. But no, this is still like an enjoyable album. I like it. It does have some fan favorite songs like Infected. Probably my favorite song on the album is My Throat is an Open Grave. It's a very good ballad in Demon Hunter's catalog. I think it's still an enjoyable album. I obviously do have some problems with it. Just more of like, it's just not the best it could be. But kind of like my issues just lie in the fact that it is a debut album. And it's just like, okay, I can't be like too hard on this or anything like that. It's good for what it is, kind of thing. But I still very much enjoy it. So, I don't know if I explained that really well, but that's my placement for Demon Hunter. So, Conor, what is your placement? I just have the album hovering back and forth between the tiers until you make up your mind. No, I'm just gonna put it back down. No, you can.
Put the self-titled debut and put it in B.
B. Okay.
Yes, put it
Gotcha.
in B because
So you like this album a little more than I do.
I do, because one thing I appreciate about this album is how strong it stays the entire thing. Like, I really appreciate every single song. Like, sometimes there's iffy songs on albums, but like this one just really hits. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like when you first start out, you're really trying to impress. You're either like you have a one-hit wonder, or your album is terrible, or like you're really trying to impress people with like every single song. And like other bands really succeeded on doing that with their first albums, like Red's End of Silence or something like that, where they like instantly like
oh yeah, that was like
famous,
I remember that.
Like
that was like 3 music videos.
They got like a stick to record.
Record deal, 3 music videos from the first album.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually
like,
3, but
even though like Demon Hunter probably did it like really big from this album, it still seemed like they put effort in all the songs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I also like really love listening to the last song. And even the song before that, it's like that weird Demon Hunter song that, like, what is it? Like the Upper Hand, or what is it? The one right before the last track.
I can't remember that actually.
Broken Upper Hand or something like that. It's like a really strange, like it sounds really strange, but it's got like this drum beat, but like at the beginning, but then it's like, I don't know, it's like stands out in a weird way, and then you start to really, really like it.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to put it a little bit... Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you say, but I'm going to put it a little bit higher.
Yeah. I understand that. I respect that. The only reason I think I put it in C tier is because of how I feel in the sense of the discography as a whole. It's more C tier worthy than... everything above this I like more than this album, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It may change for me as we go along.
Yeah.
My favorite song is either... It's torn between 3, actually. I love all the songs, but like I love Screams of the Undead, I Have Seen Where It Grows, and Through the Black. Through the Black was like their first song that they wrote.
Screams of the Undead was like the perfect opener for this album. It's just great. That's why I always try to call the actual album Screams of the Undead. I love the song so much that I'm just like, in my brain, I don't think of the album as Demon Hunter, like a self-titled. I just think of it as Screams of the Undead. That's how my brain refers to the album. And it's like, no, that's not the actual album. It's called Demon Hunter. So that it holds an impact. I think we're both in kind of agreeance. I did fail to mention the Gauntlet. I love that song. That song's great. But like that, I think the Gauntlet and My Throat Is an Open Grave are definitely my favorites from this one. And then probably like Infected and Screams of the Undead. And oh my goodness, hearing Infected live was so cool. Summer of Darkness. Now, Summer of Darkness has the first Demon Hunter song I've ever heard in my life. Not Ready to Die. The opening song of the album. It was the song that put me into this band. Like, I saw the music video. Me and William were talking about it in the last video. We gave a little background of how we got into the band. I might be a little biased towards this album, but I love it. And for that reason, I'm putting it in A tier. Very close to S tier. It's a great album. I love this album so much. It's got so many... It's crazy because a lot of bands, the tracks typically like 10 to 12, 9, anywhere from like 8 to like 12 or like a typical album. When it gets to 13, which is the amount of songs on this album, it's sometimes with certain bands it seems risky. I can't remember the actual album, but I know Slayer, they put a 13-track album out, and it wasn't that great. It's kind of one of my least favorite Slayer albums, you know. It just didn't really do it for me. It seems risky to do so many songs like that, but it works here. Every single song on this album is just awesome. I love it. Beauty Through the Eyes of a Predator is probably my favorite song after Not Ready to Die, obviously. So many good ones. My Heartstrings Come Undone, you know. So many good songs on this album. So, A tier. Now, it's Conor Strong.
Yeah. So this is tough, but just for right now.
Mm-hmm.
B tier, but put it to the left of self-titled.
I like the fact that we both kind of agree in terms of that. I might be a little more biased than you with this album, but like it is like a step up from the self-titled. Like they got better with songwriting, they got better at everything that they were doing. You know how music should be. You know, it should do that. So I like the fact that we're both kind of like have that mindset of like, hey, this album's better.
It's definitely a step up. Yeah, it's definitely a step up. And, you know, they had a music video. They're getting a little more commercial. They're getting a little more solidified. I'm going to keep it in B because I feel the same way about it to self-titled. Now, Not Ready to Die, I think, was the first song I heard by Demon Hunter 2, but I was really young, and I didn't realize until later that I had gotten into Demon Hunter until I was, like, a teenager. And it was well, actually, no, okay, I had heard, Not Ready to Die wasn't the only song that I had heard, because I remember hearing Undying yeah. So, I'm going to put it in the same one, because I kind of feel the same way. It's that, it was easier for me to get into the self-titled than Summer of Darkness. Harder for me to really listen to it, because it is kind of a long one, you know, there's a lot of songs. But also, after getting into it, I really like it a lot better, you know, like than the self-titled. Like when you finally get into it. Yeah, it's a really solid album though. Not Ready to Die is amazing, obviously. But then some of the later songs are really good. It's definitely a pretty dark album.
What was the one that you mentioned, I think, before we started recording?
Annihilate the Corrupt.
Annihilate
I was listening to.
That's a good one.
Just like, yeah, I was just like, wow, I forgot how amazing this song was. And that's the weird thing about this album. Like, for some reason, it seems forgettable to me, but like not in a bad way. Like I just can't remember. Like, but then when I do listen to them, I'm like, wow, this is good.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way with other albums that we'll go into later, but I get what you're saying with that.
Favorite songs, probably Beauty Through the Eyes of a Predator and Less Than Nothing.
Good one.
Nothing.
And of course,
that one.
Just really so we're clear, Connor, you do very much like My Heartstrings Come Undone, right? Obviously. I just love that song so much. It's very good.
But I really love it, but it's not like...
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be one of my top Demon Hunter ballads.
I agree. I actually like the first album's ballad, My Throat is an Open Grave, more than Heartstrings Come Undone.
There's a lot more ballads that I like, but like on that album, it's definitely the ballad.
Oh yeah. And I also want to point out, music videos mostly suck because they cut out some stuff in the song from time to time, and they cut out the Not Ready to Die bridge. As far as I can remember, I might actually be wrong about this, I don't know, but as far as I can remember, that's not in the actual music video, that part. And it bugs me so much. The triptych. Anybody who knows me knows that this album is by far one of my favorite albums of all time. There were two big albums that got me into the heavy metal genre. That was Megadeth's Rust in Peace and Demon Hunter's The Triptych. So obviously I'm putting The Triptych in S tier. It is my favorite Demon Hunter album. I don't care how biased I sound. This album is perfect in every way. By far my second favorite album of all time. I love it to death. nothing will change my mind on it. It was cool because I think the first time I heard anything from the triptych was through the music video of Undying, because we like, I remember we saw the music video to Not Ready to Die on Mayhem from Steel Roots, and we were like, this is really cool and stuff, and then we, like, the next episode we saw, whatever, it was like Undying, and I was like, new, and we were like, oh, we gotta get into this, and then we started getting into the album. Great. Let me say, I own every copy of this, unless there's cassettes. I don't think there's cassettes. I'm pretty sure there's not, but I own the 3 vinyls. I own 4 CDs, technically 5. I actually have 2 copies of the special edition, so I own 8 copies of this album. Basically, I love this album. Every single song from start to finish. This is another album. I have some of these albums that I love so much that I can't listen to just one song from it. I have to listen to the entire album, start to finish, every time I listen to it, and this is one of those albums. It is my second favorite album of all time. I'm fanboying so hard over it, so I'm gonna let Conor take over here. So where do you place the triptych?
So hear me out. Don't kill me. E, but only because there's no F.
Put it in
only
B.
Because there's no F tier.
D.
No, put it in D. But D, just because there's no F tier.
Okay, guys, the video's over. Conor's. I'm disowning Conor. He's no longer my brother.
Fine.
I know. I knew you were joking. S.
Put mine in S. Yes.
So we're pretty much in agreeing so far.
I don't know if I would consider it my favorite Demon Hunter album. I'm not sure. But as a musician, like, I don't know. I'm torn, like, between, like, whether I would call it my favorite. But as a musician, I'm going to say this is the best Demon Hunter album. But, like, I have to acknowledge that this is the best Demon Hunter album. Like, it just is. Everything about it, it's the best. Just because, like, I may prefer to listen to something else. It changes all the time. This is the best. So you could...
Okay, so here's a question. Here's an interesting question. What is the ballad on this in this album? I want to hear your thoughts on it.
This is really, really tough. Because most people would have to say 1,000 Apologies, because wasn't there a music video for it? Or was there?
Maybe.
I can't even remember.
I'm not up to date with all the music videos.
I want to, but
there might have
personally, I would say Deteriorate. I think Deteriorate is...
I would agree with you on that one, actually.
Maybe the best ballad they've ever written. Tide began to rise.
I know. What a way to end an album.
It also has the best intro. Also has the best Demon Hunter intro to any album.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
The Flame That Guides Us Home is one of the best intros I've ever heard. So, yeah, it's great. Everything is great.
I want to also mention that the Tide Began to Rise Resurrected on the Resurrection album was fantastic.
And they pulled off, on their best album, they pulled off having a cover.
Oh, I know. That cover was awesome. I didn't even know it was a cover until, like, way later.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect their best album to have a cover. And it's not like it was different from the original version. Like, it's their own thing.
And I like the original version a lot, too. It's a good song. Hold on, I do have to mention real quick that my favorite song by Demon Hunter, period, and I did mention this in my last video, but in case people don't watch this, Fire to My Soul is my favorite Demon Hunter song ever. It is a fantastic song.
My favorite song on the album is Deteriorate. So
that's definitely my favorite ballad from them, for sure.
But Undying is up there. Like, heavy song, it might be Undying.
I have to mention the Soldier song. That's a great song that has a great message, and it is just amazing. Very impactful, great song. I don't know if it's just me, but I just kind of feel like it's a little bit more underappreciated. I don't know. It might just be me, but it's a great song.
The Science of Lies is under.
Just a great album. S tier. S tier all the way for both of us. So we have a little bit of a difference so far. Going back and forth from the which ones. This is mine. This one's Conor's. So, okay, so I guess we're gonna just keep moving on. Next album, Storm the Gates of Hell. This might be the part where we start disagreeing. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this album, but...
Might be.
Might be. So, I am actually going to put this...
Yeah, because I hate this album as much as all the others.
in D tier. I will have to say that this is probably my least favorite Demon Hunter album. Which is a shame because the album before this was just fantastic. I still like the album. I still enjoy it.
Favorite.
But yeah, I just kind of feel like this might be my least favorite. So,
Favorite.
it's honestly probably going to be the only one that
Wow.
ends up in D tier. I still enjoy it. I want to make that clear. I've listened to it multiple times. I own it on CD. I still enjoy it. It's a good album. This is probably the only album that's going to go in D tier. D tier. I said that a little too fast. It sounded weird. So, I don't really have too much to add to that. I still enjoy the album. I still have some favorite songs. 16 is a cool song. Fading Away is a really good song. Storm the Gates of Hell. That's a really good opener. That actually might be my favorite song on the album, actually. Storm the Gates of Hell. That's a really, really good song. I thought it was just right straight to the point kind of opening to the album. It was just really good. Hits you right in the face, you know. But yeah, I just, in terms of their discography, it's just not as good as it could be. It's still good, and I'm definitely not like one of those people that just overreact over an album not being as good as the previous one, you know. I love the previous one, but it was kind of a disappointment going into this one, but it's still a good album. It's still worth listening to multiple times, and I still will listen to it multiple times going forward. I like the album a lot. It just happens to be my least favorite from Demon Hunter. That's my placement. What is yours?
I'm going to put it in A tier.
Wow. Okay, we are definitely in disagreement with this one.
Yeah, I'm putting mine in A.
I respect that, though. I could definitely
I
understand
pretty
it,
much love
for
every
sure.
song. Yeah, I love every song on this album. I don't know how to describe it. Everything just, it's like Summer of Darkness to me, but where every song is much more memorable. Like that's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah.
Um,
Follow the Wolves is a good
my
one.
favorite, Follow the Wolves is amazing. Fiction Kingdom has one of the catchiest choruses that Demon Hunter has, in my opinion. Wrath of God is an amazing outro, and it's got an amazing guitar solo.
Yeah.
I just love all these songs. Carry Me Down.
Demon Hunter is really good at outros. Like, I've noticed
They
that
are, yeah.
most albums,
Yeah.
especially more so in like the more of like the mainstream kind of music, or not necessarily like outside of metal. There's plenty of metal albums that are like this, but they kind of have like the first half is really good and it kind of starts dying out, you know. It just kind of goes downhill and it's just like it's not that great. But like Demon Hunter, that's not the case at all. Like their second half of the album is just as good as the first half. Like some of the best songs on albums are the last song. So that's definitely something I appreciate about Demon Hunter.
Great album. Got a great live album from it.
Indeed.
Like
Indeed.
Live 45 Days.
This was after the album, but have you seen the Live in Nashville concert? I don't have it on like a DVD or anything, but it is on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, because they do have two things. They got the... I was like, I don't know if Conor was going to have the same opinion as me when it comes to Storm the Gates of Hell, but it just... In comparison to the most of their other albums, it's just... This one didn't do it for me. I still love it. I would use the word love because I do love this band. And that's another thing that's kind of like hard with this tier list, was because I'm so like biased and I just love this band so much. It's hard to kind of like make this tier list. That was a struggle for me. I haven't put anything in B tier yet, which is weird because you have 2 in B tier. You haven't put anything in C or D yet though. So
Yeah, I have not.
that's Connor's. This is mine.
Amazing.
The Word is a Phone. I almost forgot. I was about to say Descending Upon Us. Same thing with the self-titled. The World is a Phone. This is another album I we've never really talked about too much. Like, even before this tier list, we've always talked about Demon Hunter and stuff, but this is one album. This and, like, Storm the Gates of Hell was the, like, 2 albums that we never really mentioned to each other about how we feel about them, so this is interesting. This is, like, an interesting part of this video. It's, like, where am I putting Storm the Gates of Hell? What are your thoughts on Storm the Gates of Hell? The Word is a Thorn. I am going to put this album in B tier. Okay. My first B tier. This is a pretty good album. I like it a lot. It's got arguably some of the thrashiest, heaviest riffs the band has written up to this point. Yeah, The Word is a Thorn, the actual song, is heavy. Collapsing is a great song. It's a really good album. I like this album. It's got some... This was, like, the first one. I don't really recognize any of these people's names, but this was the first album that they had, like, featured artists and everything. Yeah. It's all... This is... Like how I mentioned earlier, this is one album that I have the same thing with Your Summer of Darkness. I like this album a lot, but it's kind of forgettable. Not in like the bad way. I'm more focused on these other albums that I like more than it, so I kind of forget about this one. But when I go back to it, I'm really into it, you know. So I think B tier is a good placement for me. I was considering putting it in C tier, still above the self-titled, but I was like, no, I think I'm gonna put it in B tier because I find myself listening to this album a little bit more than the first album. This was the last one with, like, a certain lineup change. It's a good album, and I really like the artwork, too. Really like the artwork. Like the artwork of all of the albums. So,
yeah.
Where's your placement for The Word is a Thorn?
This is really tough. I was really debating, but at least for right now, until something else comes along, I'm gonna just barely put it in C tier. If it was in B, it would be to the right of the other two, but I think I'm gonna put it in C.
Yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page because I was very highly putting it in C tier as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're still kind of on the same page with this album.
It has a lot of good songs, but, like, I feel like it goes back and forth a lot between, like, amazing song and then, like, good, and then amazing, good, amazing, good. Like,
yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put it in C for that reason.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good. Love so many of the songs. Just Breathe, Tie This Around Your Neck, Collapsing. I don't know. It's got some great songs. Some of the outros. See, I don't care for the outro songs on this album as much, which is why I'm gonna put it below self-titled and Summer of Darkness. And the intro's not quite as good either, even though it's amazing. It's an amazing intro. It's just not like...
You know what? Thinking about it, I'm actually gonna put it in C tier. I'm gonna make a little change. I was kind of considering it anyway, but I'm gonna make a little change after you kind of mentioned, because I was mentioning how the last songs are always, like, so good. This is another thing why I like these kind of videos, is you kind of, like, got a second point of view on some things that might open your eyes or something. But, like, I was kind of already on the same page with you anyway, but I just kind of put it in B tier because I didn't really have any albums in B tier to begin with anyway. So, but I'm actually gonna put it in C tier, still above their self-titled. So it's my favorite from the C tier, but C tier is a good placement, I think, for this album.
It's kind of funny that you say that because, like, you almost made me put it in B tier. So,
like, even before you started talking, and I'm looking at the song titles and everything, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, these songs are really good. This song's really good, and I'm just kind of like looking at these other song titles, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, they're good, but I mean, they're just like kind of meh. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't hate any of the songs. Yeah. There's nothing from this band I hate at all.
Very solid ballad. Driving Nails is
yes.
A very solid ballad.
Yes, I was about to mention Driving Nails. It's definitely one of my favorites. I'd say Driving Nails and The Word is a Thorn are my 2 favorites from this album. It's a good riff. It really is. It's a good riff. It hits you right in the face, you know. I like build up in songs, but I also, when it comes to metal, most of the music is going to be right in your face right away anyway, so I love that. Okay, so this is Conor's. This is mine. True Defiance. This is when Jeremiah and Patrick come in. I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is their first album. Because I'm pretty sure they both came in. Because I know Don Clark was the guitarist. I can't remember the other guitarist's name. But that was between the lineup change. So this is, in a sense, this is kind of a start of a new era for Demon Hunter. I really like True Defiance. It's still kind of got that like middle ground for me. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I do like a lot of the songs from it. Dead Flowers, Resistance, the first two songs, God Complex and Crucifix, I think it is. Or Crucifix and then God Forsaken, not God Complex. Oh, and My Destiny. My Destiny was one that really stuck out to me when I was like re-listening to this for this video. That's got some good riffs. But yeah, I really like this album. It's kind of like that middle ground. I feel like it's kind of like a mix from the new era and their old era. But I kind of feel like this was kind of like that middle ground with the music that still kind of had that vibe from their older stuff and newer stuff. So it's a very good album. I really enjoy it, and I've got it in B tier. I don't have much else to say on it. So, Conor, where would you place True Defiance?
I'll place it in A, but to the right of Storm the Gates of. Really like metalcore. This is kind of more of a metalcore sound, but they did it really, really well. Like, really well. So if you impress me with a genre that I don't like,
I never even thought of that, but that's a very good point to make.
Because there's definitely a lot more metalcore elements. And they have some other stuff later with metalcore elements that they didn't do as well. We'll talk about that later. But this album, amazing. There's some songs that are just kind of like for me. Like Resistance is one of those. I like it, but not like it's not like amazing to me. Or like on the deluxe, What Is Left, it's okay.
Yeah.
I do like the deluxe songs. Like I Am a Stone is amazing.
Obviously, that one got so big, it's ridiculous. That's like one of the most played songs.
Favorite songs, probably Crucifix and God Forsaken are two of my favorites, but also We Don't Care. There's a bunch of great songs I love. Wake is amazing. I do like My Destiny. I like some of the other songs more than My Destiny, but My Destiny is great. The ballads, Dead Flowers is amazing. Tomorrow Never Comes, I don't care for as much as far as Demon Hunter ballads go. I don't really listen to it that much.
I'd agree with that.
An A, because I think overall it's a fantastic.
So you can definitely see the difference and some similarities, because we both have the same album in S tier so far. Next up, we got Extremist. I really like this album. As I don't think it's as good as Summer of Darkness, but it's definitely A tier for me. Oh my goodness, the first two songs on this album is one of the best intros to an album Demon Hunter's ever done. Is it just called Death, or is it called I Am Death?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just Death and Artificial Light. Fantastic. What I'm Not, fantastic. Last One Alive, I Will Fail You. I Will Fail You is definitely one of their best ballads for sure. Heart of a Graveyard. So many good songs from this album. This was one that... I think this was the album that kind of got me back into Demon Hunter. Because, I mean, I wasn't fully aware of listening to them the entire journey. I feel awkward kind of admitting that. But this was kind of like the one where it's like... It really clicked with me and I was just like, oh, this is so good. And it wasn't like I didn't dislike any of their new stuff. I just wasn't on top of it. You know, you discover other bands, you get into other things, you grow and stuff. So I mean, me getting out of Demon Hunter for a little bit was not me disliking Demon Hunter at all. Yeah, Extremist is definitely an A tier. I will say that it's probably, I like Summer of Darkness a little bit more, but I kind of feel like they're kind of on the same level in terms of like quality, songwriting and everything like that, and just my personal opinion about the album.
Yeah, what you said though, I remember like about new albums, and I was like, you gotta listen to this, and I did like, what do you mean you haven't heard it?
Yeah, because it was kind of weird. I want to tell a little bit of a story, because I was kind of like, I got into Demon Hunter around the Triptych era, like right about that time, and Conor got into it later, around the time of like Extremists, closer to Outlive kind of thing. So it was kind of like two different fans. You know how you always get those fans that are like more old school and then more newer? That's basically us. I was more of the old school guy, getting into Demon Hunter pretty early on, and he's got into Demon Hunter more recently. So yeah, where do you put Extremist?
I shock you a little bit. I don't know. Bit to the right of the Triptych.
Okay, so you are going S tier. We got our second S tier. Because nobody has put anything, up to this point, nobody put any other album in S tier. S tier was like the special kind of tier, like...
Extremist is their next S tier album. That is when they truly came back. Like, that's when they truly came back with another fantastic album. It shocked the world with, they shocked everyone with... They had the commercial side, where they pleased, like... that side of the fans with like Last One Alive and I Will Fail You. Like they really had hit singles. But they also like had like Cross to Bear and songs like that, and like In Time and like Gasoline.
Yeah. That's definitely something I appreciate about Demon Hunter. That they kind of do a little bit more so with their newer stuff than their older stuff, but they have that nice balance from like really heavy, kind of like death metal, and that more kind of like just good music that everybody can kind of enjoy kind of thing. I don't want to go as far as saying like popish, but kind of. It's got that influence a little bit. Certain songs more than others, but...
There's not a song on Extremist that I don't like. What I'm not...
Honestly, same here. There's not a single one I dislike.
The deluxe is eh. It's not...
I'd agree.
It's not one of their great deluxe albums.
The deluxe for True Defiance is definitely better, because I really love I Am a Stone.
Yeah.
That's such a great song.
Yeah. Also, another resurrected Songs of Death and Resurrection shout out.
Yes.
I Am a Stone.
I would just say this right now. We were just doing studio albums, but if Death and Resurrection was on this, it would be S tier. Probably on both of ours. Would you agree?
Pretty great.
I mean, it's fantastic. And it kills me, too, because there was... When we went to the concert, just before the concert happens, we were in line for the merch, and I saw the vinyl of Death and Resurrection, and I was about to get it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. But some guy got it before me, so I was kind of disappointed with that.
I actually kind of prefer to listen to I Am a Stone on that album now.
We definitely have a little bit of a difference. We both love Extremists, but he loves it a little bit more than I do.
I mean, like you said, I got into them around that time.
That's true. So, Outlive. Now, I want to say something. When this first album first came out, it was around the time that I started getting really back into Demon Hunter. Like, Conor was introducing me to Extremists. I was, like, loving that album. I went back to listen to True Defiance. I think I remember listening to True Defiance, not when it came out, but like around that same time, just before. Did listen to it. I just didn't go back to listen to it, but after I heard Extremists. Outlive was an album that I listened to it at least once or twice. I don't know. It just kind of, that was kind of it until I saw them live. So that's a long time, from 2017 to 2022. I didn't really listen to this album. It was just like, oh, I like it. I didn't dislike it, but I was just like, I didn't really listen to it. But then I saw them live, and they played Jesus Wept and Cold Winter Sun. Ever since then, this has become one of my favorites from them. I've listened to this album on repeat a ridiculous amount of times, and I'm going to go as far as saying it is better than Summer of Darkness. It is the top of A tier for me. I love this album. I don't know why it didn't click with me until I saw them live, but I don't know, just some music and some albums just do that. Just the song, the tracks is just so well put together, so well, like Trying Times, Jesus Wept, Cold Winter Sun, Died in My Sleep, Half Is Dead, Cold Blood. That's the first 6 songs, and they just all flow with each other so well, and it's just amazing. And of course, like One Last, the end. Oh, I love the end. The end is great. One Step Behind. There's not a bad song. I love this album so much. So yeah, Outlive, top of A tier for me. Now we get to see where Conor places it.
Jesus Wept and Cold Winter Sun are the best songs on the album. Those are my favorites.
I like Jesus Wept and Cold Winter Sun, but my favorites are honestly between Cold Blood and The End.
Cold Winter Sun is one of my favorite Demon Hunter songs. I'll put it that way. Really tough. I'm gonna put it in A tier, in between. Gonna be to the right of Storm the Gates of Hell, but to the left of put Storm the Gates of Hell ahead of it is because I think it's just a stronger album all the way through. I really do love Outlive. It took me years to like the song Half Is Dead. I was literally working at college, just doing my job, had an earbud in, Half Is Dead came on, and for the first time in like 5-6 years, I was like, I really love this song. When the lyric hit me in a different way, I really started thinking about the lyric, you know? Because like I just kind of brushed it off. I didn't like listen to the song that much, and so I didn't think about it too much. But like when he says like me 3 feet deep, half as dead as they are.
Out of all the other albums that we had differing opinions, like even Storm the Gates of Hell, whereas I like it's my least favorite and it's like one of your favorites, I feel like we differ our opinions the most with this album for some reason. Because I am like so hardcore into this album, it's ridiculous. Like me and William will play it a ton of times, especially after seeing them live. We were playing this album to and from work. And I remember you getting on to me like so much, like, hey, listen to this album, listen to this album, listen to this album. And now I'm finally listening to this album, and you're just like, you don't share the same hype as I do, and it's just weird.
I used to, but Half Is Dead, again, when that lyric hit me, one I didn't like I literally did a YouTube like review on it when it came out. It's okay, and I critiqued it a lot. But like when that lyric hit me, like bury me 3 feet deep, I'm not half as dead as they are. Like I just kind of started thinking about like in relation to my life and like Christianity, and I started thinking of being apart, like separate from the world and stuff. And I don't know exactly what the song is about, but like that's just what I was thinking about when listening to it. And I was like, wow, this is like, it's actually kind of a really cool creative lyric. Like, don't bury me as much as you bury the others, because I'm not half as dead as everyone else.
Let's go ahead and say that Ryan Clark is a great lyricist. The riff to Cold Blood just reminds me so much of like those super hardcore death metal bands like Cannibal Corpse and stuff. Because I remember first hearing that, I'm just like, this almost sounds like a Cannibal Corpse song. And it was just so weird because it was like, this is a Christian band, still metal, but like it was just like, wow, I love it. I love The End. It's such a good song. One Less, Patience, Slight the Odds, Raining Down, One Step Behind. They're all just fantastic. But yeah, great album.
War is technically speaking the first one. Peace really kind of completes.
Right. I do feel that way.
Yeah. It's kind of like the second part.
They have 2 separate albums, so we're putting them up on the tier list as 2 separate albums. They're not the same album. We both had a lot of hype for this album. We did do a in-depth review of this back on my podcast episode. I think it was episode 4. So we talked almost an hour about War and Peace. So if you want to check that out, definitely do. I'll probably have a link to the description, but it's on my channel. There was a lot of hype between both of us for these 2 albums, and they didn't disappoint for sure. War, I think, is a very good album. It's a great album. I'm going to put it at the end of A tier. You mentioned one song, Lesser Gods. That's a great, one of their best ending songs for an album. The Negative, Cut to Fit, On My Side was a great single. Like, that was a hit. No Place for You Here is a great one. Ash, it's a great. Some albums, with these kind of things, there are some albums that you have to think about, like, where do I want to place this? War was one of those albums that I knew was going to be A tier from the beginning. I was like, there's no doubt in my mind War was A tier.
I agree with you for the most part, but I just like feel it a slightly different way. Like, I do like the album a lot, but I don't think it stood the test of time as much for me.
I kind of agree with that. That's why I put it at the end of A tier.
Right now, I put it at the end of C tier.
Whoa, okay, I didn't think we were going to disagree that much.
I think it's my least favorite Demon Hunter album.
Okay. I guess this is the same reaction you had when I put Storm the Gates of Hell in D.
Cut to Fit is amazing. The Negative is my favorite song. On My Side's really good. Lesser God's a really great, solid outro. But remember when I said metalcore that wasn't as strong? That's how I kind of feel about this album. Like, a couple of the songs were a little bit too much like each other. Like, Unbound and Ash were a little too flashed. No, but, like, I love the song. Like, I think they're great songs by themselves. It just, the album as a whole felt, I don't know.
Like, I don't look back at this album as fondly as we did. Like, I think we will kind of, I mean, obviously, like, we were like, a double album, 2 albums on the same day by Demon Hunter. It was like a big thing back then. We were so hyped for it. So I think we were kind of possibly overhyping ourselves, but it was still great.
And the bridge of Cut to Fit is, wow.
Oh yeah, we did. We talked about that bridge for almost 20 minutes on that podcast too. or around there. It was like 10 to 15 minutes. We were just talking about that bridge. Close enough. Song that's close enough of being the worst song ever. No, I'm just kidding.
Basically, I think the song is fantastic. Like, I loved it from the first time I heard it. I thought it was amazing. Not memorable whatsoever somehow. Like, I can't, like, I never have a desire to listen to it. I think it's a great song, but it seems so cliche that I just can't listen to it. Really weird. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay.
But, like, I think it's great whenever I listen to it, but I never, like, want to listen to it.
I'm pretty sure sure you're gonna make the band cry when they watch this video, but I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
I love you guys. You guys are amazing. No, but like it's like the concept of, like, you know how pop music is, why it's pop music, why it's popular music. It's like, it's the instant, this is catchy, this is great. It's the instant, like, right away, and then you listen to it on repeat. And it's amazing, and then it gets old, and you never.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like, it's not one of those songs that grow on you.
It's in A tier for specific songs, because I do kind of agree with you where it doesn't really stand the test of time as much. It's not as good, but it's still very good, obviously. Okay, so we have 2 albums left. This is Conor's list right here on screen.
Oh yeah, just put them both in D.
And this is my list. Okay, so Peace. I'm going to A tier again, but I'm considering where to put it into A tier because this is going to be my 5th album in A tier now. This was a very A tier dominant discography for me. I'm going to put it ahead of Extremist, but still below Summer of Darkness. It's in the middle for me. An album that consists most of kind of like Demon Hunter's softer ballad-like songs, and I think it does it very well. I think back in the podcast, I said something like this was the Demon Hunter album I wanted kind of thing because I've always loved their ballads, and I still kind of feel that. Still feel mostly the same about it. I like it more than War. It has fantastic songs. More Than Bones, Loneliness, Peace, When the Devil Comes, 2 Ways, Accuse Myself, fantastic. I remember I actually, when they played Accuse Myself at the concert, I FaceTimed you, so you get to kind of see that a little bit. Not best quality, but I remember that was the song that I FaceTimed you for. And of course they did More Than Bones as the encore, and that was just fantastic. I really love that song. More Than Bones and Accuse Myself are definitely my favorite ones from this album, and I love the fact that they played both of those songs at the concert that I saw. So thank you, Demon Hunter, for playing both of those songs. So that's how I feel about Peace. Very good. And the version of Loneliness on Songs of Death Resurrection is fantastic. Love it. I love that song. That's probably like my 3rd favorite song is Loneliness. Where do you place Peace?
It's really tough. I'm gonna.
You said that with every single album.
I know, but I told you this whole thing was gonna be tough. Okay.
I know.
I'm gonna put
It was for me too.
I'm gonna put it to the right of Summer of Darkness and to the left of Titled for right now, in B tier. Can't decide if I want to put it ahead of Summer of Darkness, but
Okay.
I'm gonna put it right there. I like it a lot more than War.
So we both agree that it's better than War.
We both pretty much agree on it. Of course, we've talked about it before. Yeah, all those great songs. It's really good. It really is what Demon Hunter needed. They do so great at ballads. So just
For
use
sure.
a ballad album.
And When the Devil Comes is such a kind of out there song. It's kind of like the oddball song for Demon Hunter, and it works so well. I really like that song.
Fear's Not My Guide is an amazing outro.
Yes.
I love that song. So
Such a great album overall.
pretty much all I have to say about it.
Okay, so we got Connor's list here. Nothing is in D tier. You placed The World is a Thorn as your favorite in C tier, and War as your least favorite in C tier. War being the least favorite. At the start of B tier, you have Summer of Darkness, Peace, and then Demon Hunter, self-titled. Starting in A tier, you have Storm the Gates of Hell, then Outlive, then True Defiance. S tier starts with the Triptych, and then Extremist. My tier list is very A strong. Like, I only have one. The only tier list that I have more than one album in, besides A tier, is C tier. So I have Storm the Gates of Hell in D, C, The World is a Thorn in C, and then I have their self-titled debut in C. The only album I have in B is True Defiance, and then A, in order from what I like best, from left to right, I have Outlive, I have Summer of Darkness, Peace, Extremist, and War, and then I have the Triptych at the top of S tier. It all comes down to this. This right here. Exile, the newest Demon Hunter. 20 years with this band. 20 years. They are completely independent now, which is fantastic. I love that. Gotta keep supporting them though. But I have a lot of respect for bands that go independent. S tier.
S tier.
S tier.
S tier.
Where are you putting it in S tier? Because you have two in S tier.
Putting it behind Extremist.
Behind? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is my list. This is Connor's.
Why? Reason is because a very, very important part of this is, again, the test of time. So,
The albums haven't even been out for a year, Connor.
Exactly.
What
No,
test? What are you talking about? Test of time?
That's exactly my point. Is it hasn't the test of time yet? Right. I want to see how that stays, and I think it will continue to do well.
I'm confident that it will, because despite how much I love Demon Hunter, this has been the only album that I see on the same level as the Triptych. Not exactly. Is not as good as the Triptych. I am still super biased about the Triptych. This is the best thing they've done since the Triptych. And it's the first concept album, which is a really cool thing.
And the reason I put it with the reason I have the Triptych, Extremist, and Exile all in S tier, it all kind of has the same reason. Extremist, Triptych really solidified the band. It was like the start of something amazing. It was the complete. It completed them. Like,
it was like the
Extremist-
perfected version of the first two albums.
Yeah, Extremist brought them back officially. Like, True Defiance was great and everything. Like, you had great albums, but like, Extremist was the next Triptych to me. Extremist was the next album that just blew everyone's minds. I feel like Exile, after a few years of great songs, great albums, but like fans were a little bit iffy, I feel like Exile start of something new again. It's like 20 years, here's to the next 20 years, as they keep saying.
Yeah.
And the whole concept thing and the comics and it
Did you read the comic?
I did, and I loved it.
Yeah, I'm not much of a comic person. I was saying in my unboxing video, but I did like it. I actually never talked about it in that video, but I like the comic. I'm going to hopefully be pre-ordering and getting the next few issues.
This album has a very different intro. Now, I will say the outro, I love it. It's not one of my favorite outros. I do love it, though.
I'd agree with that.
The intro is very different. Say Defense Mechanism is my favorite song on the album. Very close, though, because Other Place is also one of my Place and Defense Mechanism are like tied.
If I had to pick, it would probably be Another Place, but I honestly, this is how I decide if I love an album, if it's masterclass S tier worthy for me. If I can't stand to listen to just a few songs and I have to listen to the album start to finish, get the full experience and not be bored from it no matter how many times I listen to the album, that's my defining, like, this is S tier for me. Like, I have listened to this album 30 plus times and I still love it. That's what makes S tier for me. And I probably have listened to this album 30 plus times. It's ridiculous. I talked about how much I listened to Outlive. I listened to to Exile and Triptych dozen more times.
Another interesting thing, because when the first single was released, I was like, this is really good. You know, Freedom is Dead. I was kind of iffy about it a little bit. I will say one thing. You know, obviously, you get this effect at concerts, but when you just blast music, whether in a car or something, and then there's certain songs that just blast better than other songs. Freedom is Dead is one of the best examples of that. It is a great song by itself, but Blast Freedom is Dead really hits differently when you blast that song. Raises a Void. That was an interesting thing to do.
It's a good song.
Because that was the one original on the Songs of Death and Resurrection. And then they like kind of did the reverse. They made it into more of a...
Honestly, probably my favorite concept album. Right up there with like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden for me. I like concept albums a lot. They're very hard to do. And I understand why Ryan Clark was always shied away from a concept album. But I'm glad they did it. That's another thing why this album is so special, is because they haven't done a concept album. And there are bands that do concept albums. Like, there's literally, like, I think it's a band called, like, what was it? Coheed and Cambria or something. All their albums are concept albums. They're basically a band that focuses on a story. And
it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine, but I don't like that. I don't know what it is. I don't like the bands that do that. There's been a couple that I've kind of discovered. I can't remember the name of another one, but Coheed and Cambria, I don't like that band. I like a couple songs, but overall, I don't like that band. It just seems bland. I'm not really the best to give that opinion about it being bland, but that's how I feel. I don't like that band. Concept albums are definitely something special that shouldn't be done a ton of times, in my opinion.
Yeah, this album's up there for me in concept albums. Probably next to Sola Scriptura by Neil Morris.
How, like, the first half of the album's really good and the second half kind of dies out. This is, like, Exile has, like, the best second half, like, ever. Like, Praise the Void, Revolutions, Chemicals, Godless, Devotion, Along the Way. Freaking love Devotion. This album's so good. Because of how much I'm overhyping it, I'm probably going to listen to it right after we're done recording this. And speaking of Exile, actually, too, I have Exile on right now. I also have the tour short that has all the locations, the cities that they played. One thing I want to add, I have technically bought 7 copies of this album. I bought the CD, deluxe, cassette, 3, vinyl, and then I bought the deluxe again as a Christmas present for this guy.
Yeah.
Let's review. This is Conor's tier list right here. Still nothing in D tier. I might be something more like this. I might move Storm the Gates of Hell up from D tier. The link to this tier list will be in the description, so make your own. Put anything in the comments if you have any thoughts about all these albums, what you disagreed about our opinions or agreed. Keep the conversation going and stuff. I feel weird saying that because that's something William always puts at the end of his videos. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. Thank you, Conor, for being here. Demon Hunter, if you happen to see this, what are your thoughts on our tier list? Do you hate us?
What are your tier lists?
What's your tier list? Alright, so thank you for watching. That's going to do it for this video. I really like this format, the tier list format, so I do plan on doing a lot more bands and discographies and just all kinds of different tier lists. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll have his links in the description too. I forgot to mention that. But he doesn't do anything with his links. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. He doesn't know that I'm recording right now. This is not supposed to be actually in the video one bit because Conor answered the door for somebody. But it's actually going to be in the video. It's going to be at the end after basically the credits and the video's over. The video's going to go black and then you're not going to see anything. And then this clip's going to show up and then the video's going to end right now.